So guys, today's plan, a little bit of handstand balance, which I'm excited around, just to give you a little bit of ideas, something you can play around with, you can follow along at the same time. We're just gonna, handstand balance is a tricky little thing, right? It's the bit of the skill acquisition process from a handstand training perspective, which takes the most amount of time. And it needs drilling. So there are some things in handstands and calisthenics where you can get some quite quick wins. We can show you in one session how to improve something quite fast, get quite rapid gains. You can get a certain amount of that with handstand training, but what you're also going to need to do is put in a ton of time. Some of these balance exercises that I'm going to show you need a little bit more sort of drilling. They need some time. They need the opportunity for the central nervous system to learn the fine motor control required in the skills. So what I'm going to show you is a bit of a perspective of the different things that we can do during the different stages. So the way that we do our handstand training programs, so we break it down using something called neural chunking. But effectively what that means is taking a handstand and breaking it down into these smaller components which we can train, and then we can build those things together. The handstand balance are a little bit like the top-down components. So bottom up, top down, and how we connect those two things in the middle. So what I'm going to show you is some things from beginners kind of level, and then some things through to if you're ready to move into free space and start picking up and try and nail your first freestanding handstand. The upshot, guys, of all of this is a little bit of play. So have some fun with it, keep it safe. If you're feeling unstable or you've got any sort of pain or any discomfort or anything in the wrists as we go through, okay, self-manage. Obviously, you need to stay away from pain. It's not a good thing. Just keep it nice and simple. Find a little bit of space. You don't need a ton of room for what we're going to go through today, and we're going to follow along. So any questions as we go through, guys, I'm happy to take those, post them into the comments, and we'll work through and see where we can get you guys to today. So step number one is going to be our prep session. So we're just going to get warmed up. A little bit of an active, dynamic warm-up today just to get you guys moving, and nothing too static. So you guys can join me. I'm going to give you some time to follow along with this. So first up, we're going to get you guys into push-up position. I'm going to slide on so you guys can see it. Right, push-up position to start off with, and then I want you to start to gain a little bit of overhead range of movement. So rocking from your push-up position, nice and controlled, you're going to come up and then find that end range position. And I just want you to sit into this kind of down dog or pike push-up position and just feel that overhead range of movement come through, and then drop back into push-up. Often in yoga, we're going to try and find this kind of position. But I want you guys to stay connected today. When we do our handstand balance, this is the last kind of shape where I really want to be when I'm learning. So stay connected, stay hooked up, drive it back out, find that end range, just spend a second there, just pulsing it out. Nice and easy, and then just drop yourself back into your push-up position. Because we're here and we want a little bit of muscle temperature tissue, or tissue temperature, just drop me a push-up in. If you want to, you can drop to knees to be able to pull through that movement. And we'll do one more time. Drop it up, high overhead position. Just feel that overhead range of movement that we're going to need in our handstand. Back to your push-up, connect it. Drop back in for the push-up. All right, good. Right, so from this position, what I want you guys to think about doing is we're going to stay in our push-up. The whole time we're starting to load the wrists up and get a little bit of activation through there. You're going to come up and we're going to go rotate around. Come through into a side position. I want you guys to try and come over into a shape here. So again, pushing the hips up, starting to think about this connection between the shoulders and the feet. If that feels difficult, you can come through from a push-up position. We can bend the legs and we can stay a little bit more bent through the hips and the knees, and then we can drive up into a tabletop. So play around with whichever one of those feels comfortable, and I can come across and rotate back out the other way. All right, so our full set of those, we'll go through, see if we can do 3. So we'll start off, pressure position, we're going to rotate up, control it, over, stay high if we can, rotate all the way across, keep that those hips up, in, push-up position, and you know what's coming, drop your rep in, and then you can go back the other way, rotate up, control it, around, drop me a push-up. All right. So go through a set of those guys, just moving through, do a couple of reps each way. Think about really pulling through that connected position, keeping the hips and everything nice and aligned as you move through. All right, cool. So our next one, I want to get a little bit of activation through from our core, shoulders again. So we're going to stay in our push-up position. We're going to start to challenge the core and bring the shoulder strength in. We've already warmed up a little bit into this position. Now what I want to have a look at is getting a bit of connection and activation through the chain. So in our push-up position, we're going to put hands close together this time. So I'll show you from the front. We're looking to try and get this tripod shape. So hands are going to go together. I'm going to take a slightly wider base. And then from here, what's going to happen is I'm going to try and think I'm going to take a punch in my tummy. So locking the rib cage down, cracking a walnut between my butt cheeks. And then from my shape here, what I want you to try and do is come into a tripod position. So I'm creating some stability. The hips and the shoulders don't rotate. I'm just going to lift the one side up, back down, other side. What I don't want you guys to do is twist and rotate into it. So I'll work through a quick set of, let's go 8 reps, so 4 each side together. So if you get into your tripod shape, we'll go right arm up and hold, and then back down. If you want to, you can drop to knees to do it if it feels difficult. Left arm, and then back, come back up through right side. That's 2 on the right. Second on the left, nice and controlled. Start to get a little bit of core work going. Feel some activation. Right side 3. Slowly back down. Left side 3. And then 1 more each side on the right. And then on the left. Good, have a rest. So with that movement, what we've done is started to activate some of the shoulder stabilizers. We've created some core stability. We've told the core and the shoulders to start to, so the hips and the shoulders to start linking together a little bit. Loads of really nice, good stuff going on within that. Okay, so we've done a little bit of work through just to get the shoulders warmed up, cores warmed up, done a little bit of overhead range of movement. Let's just continue this into our balance. So a really nice little starting point. And if you've been working through some of the follow-alongs with Jacko and Owen, you'll have done a little bit of frog stand work. If it's your first time, we'll go through it. But it's just a nice one to get the wrists going. So to start off with, let's just get a little bit of mobility. So hands down on the floor. I just want you guys to lean through over your wrists a little bit, rocking from side to side. Just to feel a bit of range of movement. We can spin them around and come back the other way. Again, a little bit of butt shake. Give that a little bit of a mobilization through the wrists just to get them loosened before we start to stack a load of body weight up on top of them. All right, cool, perfect. So, hands on the floor, gripping with the fingertips. You want to try and make a little bit of space beneath your fingers. So into this shape here, you want a little bit of room underneath the hands so that I can feel like I'm gripping the floor. Same with your feet, right? No almost flat arches because they're not very good from a stability perspective. So keep a little bit of an arch in your hands. On the ground, gripping, elbows bent and turn them behind you. Lift the knees up and we're just going to rest the knees on the back of the elbows. So when I come through, screwing the hands behind or screwing the elbows behind, gripping the floor, elbows rest on. Take 1 foot off. You guys is side view. From here, 1 foot off. And then the second one if I can. And kind of feel that balanced position. All right. Have a little play around with that one. The benefit of doing this from a neural chunking or a handstand balance perspective is we get to control a very small shape. If you only ever start by trying a handstand by kicking up into a handstand, you're going to spend a lot of time falling over and not a lot of time practicing actually controlling the balance shape. So if we take it all the way down towards the ground, we've got so few variables. Nice, small, compact shape, close to the floor. I can really think about starting to feel like it is a balance on my hands. So have a quick rest. Let's try another one. For this one, guys, I want you to start to think about trying to get the hips higher because this is where we're going to go with the next exercise. So as I go back into my frog stand, I might have started off kind of here. All right, hips quite flat. You can see you can always have a picnic off my back. What I want you guys to think about doing is trying to go a little bit higher. All right, and that might mean that we're trying to straighten the arms a little bit more if we can. Takes a little bit of strength, so see how that goes. But if I've got a bit more of a straight arm position, I can come into here. Or it might be that I go somewhere in between, still resting a little bit, but just trying to see if I can get my hips stacked up a little bit more vertically on top of the elbow and then the wrist. So we get a nice alignment. We've got lots of body mass stacked up over the base of support. It means we're getting a super efficient handstand. Have a play around with that one. A little bit of frog stand practice. We'll do one more. You should be feeling pretty warm and mobilized by now. I'm going to get into something a little bit more balance orientated in a second. So one more. Coming up, hold that position. Push down, feel yourself if you can. Have a little bit of rock and roll. Just to get this balance kind of neurally fired up. Wake the central nervous system up. Get it all glued into what we're going to try and do next. All right, cool. So, just a little bit of a transition before we go up against the wall is we're going to do a little side hop. And this is a useful one to start to try and feel like getting those hips up and high, getting the shoulders moving, but to try and create that balance point. So, going to come to side, back into our little squat position. Hands are going to go on the floor. I'm going to try and move back so you guys can see enough. Hands on the floor, and then I'm going to pop myself over and land on the opposite side. So from here, I'm going to come up and just pop. I'm going to come up and pop. And your job is now using a bit more shoulder strength is to try and push yourself into a higher position. So rather than staying low, what I want you guys to think about doing is kind of go high. So push hips up and high. So we're trying to create a nice smooth arc, semicircle from left to right with the hips moving right over the top of that arc. We'll come through, up and down. Have a quick practice. Let's say go 3 or 4 either side and then have a little rest. Pop in through, pop. And the real trick with this one, guys, is active through the shoulders. Push hard. If I stay like soft in the shoulders and the arms, I haven't got a good stable base of support. So as I'm driving into that arc position, I'm pushing down hard and trying to keep myself high. All right. If that's feeling good, a little bit of a challenge, try and find some hang time in the middle. Can you pause that position and find that split second, even if it's a microsecond balance, just to try and see if I can feel it, and then come back across. A little pause, up, gonna pause it, and come across. And with time, we should be able to find, we can hold that for longer and longer. And we're starting to build a little bit of control in the balance. Any questions on that, guys, so far? Everyone looks like they're doing all right. Yes, on the straight arm crow position, or from moving from bent arm to straight. This question comes up quite a lot because straight arm strength is quite hard. It's quite difficult to learn and to train because often we shy away from it. Physiologically, the muscle is strongest in its mid-range. So that's why a lot of people want to do pull-ups through the ranges like this. What we don't do so well is ranges from here to here. And the same thing applies in a handstand position or pushing movements, is we're kind of strong here, if I'm going to work, where I'm not strong is here, and I'm not strong in here. All right, so we're good in this mid-range position. So a little tip about trying to get more straight arm strength is, yes, we can practice with more progressively straight arm positions, like in those isometrics, but there's some really easy wins. Every single time we're doing push-based movements, finish straight. And control that, and don't ram the end of range movement because obviously we need to go into that with control. But every time we're doing dips, every time we're doing push-ups, anything pushing based, we're going to spend some time here. Hold it, and then we're going to drop ourselves back in. Often as soon as a push-up, for example, see these all the time, repping them out. Where I'm going to go for my push-up is here. I'm going to finish and I'm going to hold. Probably longer than most people would do. I'm going to drop in. And I'm going to hold. I'm finishing strong, pushing down each time. And it won't feel that difficult, but what you're doing is adding a little bit of strength to that end range all the time. And the stronger your foundations are, the more stability we're going to have overhead, the stronger base of support. And we talk a lot in our handstand training programs about having strength in abundance. If you're stronger than you need to be to do a handstand, and arguably you don't have to be that strong to do a handstand because it's a balance exercise, then if you've got more strength than you need, you can direct more cognitive focus towards the actual balance component. You don't need to focus as much on, crikey, this is difficult, it's really hard for me. If you can lock out, boom, got it in the bank, easy, then you can focus more on the balance component. So strength might not seem as relevant to some people, but for us, it's a critical part of maintaining nice, controlled handstand positions, because you just don't have to think about it. When I do handstand push-ups, I know I'm strong enough to get out, so I can focus on the balance component instead. All right, let's move on and get up against the wall a little bit. So this is kind of, if we're feeling comfortable with our prep, we've got a frog stand nailed down, we can throw a little bit of side hopping action in. We're nice and warm and ready to go. The job then is to start to think about, can I get upside down? Now you can kick up or you can wall walk. These are two different options that you've got. The kick up is going to, I'm going to show you in a second, is going to lead us into a slight arch position, but it's a really efficient and quite energy sort of, efficient way of getting into a handstand. A wall walk is the other one, but it takes quite a lot of effort. There's also a bit of a risk of like a body slam over the top. So we're going to use a kick up to start off with today. So I'm going to adjust my screen slightly so you guys can see where we're going to go. So real simple little setup. We're going to put hands on the floor, and it's going to be like a track start position. One wing's going to kick, and the other one's going to flick, and we're going to drive up, and we're gently going to try and touch the wall. Now, if you're a beginner, glass window is probably not the best idea. You'll be pleased to know that I've done this before and tested it, and also it's important for the live purposes. I'm going to be able to do it. So just be careful. Think about the surface that you're going to kick up against. So hands go into set position. You get a nice view of my ass. I'm going to split stance. This is my lead sort of leg, which is going to flick. This right leg here is going to be the one which pops me off the floor. So I'm just going to practice this drive position and see if I can come up. So that if I kick hard enough, I'll find the wall, and then I can bring my feet together. So our first job in this shape, guys, you're going to find yourself here. You can spot the floor a little bit. What I want you guys to do once you've kicked up is push straight, strong, and long. So when you come through, I want you to connect it by driving up as long as you can. Now to do that, I need you to think about squeezing your ribcage down on top of your hips, like someone's going to come and give you a punch in the tummy. And you're going to reach your feet to the ceiling to lengthen yourself out. This is just a really easy way for us to create some nice stability throughout our whole body, which is going to, again, help us to make the balance more effective. Keep on to practice with that kick up, guys, if you kind of still trying to master it while I'm talking. So if we can connect the force, we've got more efficiency. It means we don't have to be as strong to be able to hold the shape. And the other thing is, if you think about, if we've got segments of the body moving around, feet are flopping around, knees are bent, back's arched, think about trying to stand up on your feet in the same way where you're kind of like bent out of shape. Like it's really tiring, it's not very effective. So think about trying to keep everything nice and tight, feet together, point the toes, and make yourself nice, straight and strong. So we're going to go through a couple of sets of this, and we're going to go for a 5 to 10 second hold. So you guys can do whatever you feel like is right. I'm just going to try and nudge you back a touch and see if you can actually see my feet as we go up. There we go, roughly going to see most of that. Okay, so set position, split stance. Going to kick myself up progressively, find the wall where I'm comfortable, bring the feet together. I'm slumped into my shape here now. My next job is push long. You can see my head moving and my shoulders going towards my ears, and I'm going to hold that shape. Tummy is super tight, point my toes. And we're going to go 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then allow yourself to come back down. Give yourself a rest. Take a second just to let the blood return to your vital organs, and then we're going to repeat that. We'll do 3 sets, so a nice little rest in between. If you find that kick up difficult, guys, one little trick while most of you are rested that I'll give you a little bit of is just to allow the rotation. So I'll show you side on what I mean. If I'm trying to kick and I'm maintaining this kind of shape all the time, chest is up, head's lifted forwards, it means it's really difficult for me to get enough body weight over the center, over my base of support to actually get into the full handstand position. So what you've got to do is allow your head and your shoulders to rotate underneath. So from this shape now, rather than staying arched, I'm going to allow that movement. You see the head and the shoulders come through. I'm pushing my head between my shoulders, and the hips will go where the head leads. So allow yourself to rotate, get that motion going, and you'll find that your feet come up a lot easier. If you're doing that and kicking hard enough, keeping your arms straight, you'll find eventually that you hit the wall, and then you can get into your handstand balance position from there. Let's go one more on the shrug, and then we'll mix it up a little bit. So, again, back up into your kick-up position. Set yourself through, find the wall. Get yourself on it. Okay, you'll find your stump to start off with. Push up nice and tall, straight, strong, long. Hold that shape, feet together. And we'll go 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Keep pushing. 3, 2, 1. And then come back down. Good. If we're feeling like that position is stable, if we're feeling like we can get that connection, then we could move on to trying to then take one foot off the wall. And that's going to lead us into our single leg balance position. This is a really important progression because it's going to be the sequence which eventually means that we get into free space, which we're going to have a look at in a couple of minutes. But if I can kick up, if I can take one leg off, reduce the base of support, if I can get good enough to then swap them with control, the longer I can take to swap them, the more balance and control I've got. Can I then get to a point where I can take 2 feet off? Can I hold my handstand? So I'm using the wall for stability. I find my shape. I take my feet off, and I'm going to hold that still. And can I balance that position? I need to rack up tension. Could be 5, 10 seconds where I need to be able to control that balance position without touching the wall. Your next job is then to kick up and don't touch the wall. So the wall is there if you need it, but you're kicking up with enough control and precision where you can get into the shape, you can hold it. The wall's there for the correction if you need to make it, but you ultimately want to kick up next to the wall and not require it. If you can do that consistently, then you're ready to move into free space. Because if you can't, what's going to happen is you're going to kick up, fall over, kick up, fall over. You don't get to rack up any time on task. So having the wall there for support means that you can correct it if you need to. So it's never a wasted rep. You kick up, if you hit the wall, no problem. You can come off it, you can still get your balance time. If you kick up in free space and fall over, you kick up, fall over, you've got to reset whole time. Kick up, fall over. You're going to get like half a second of time on the tension, maybe over a few reps. Using the wall means you can get 10, 15, 20, 30 seconds, 60 seconds in a session, and that's way better for the neural perspective from the learning. How many sets have we done of that shrug now? 2. We're going to move on. We're going to go into a balance position. So we're going to try that now. So wherever you're at, feel like with your handstand practice, you're either going to kick up, find that stable position with your feet against the wall, take one leg off. If it feels good, try and swap them. If you've been handstanding for a while, you're going to kick up, try and take both legs off, and can you hold it? See if you can rack up a little bit of time on the tension on that shape, and then see if we can actually hold that position. All right, so let's see if we can have a go. You might struggle to see my feet a little bit. In fact, I'm just going to move you up so you can see my feet rather than my hands. Okay, so handstand position. I'm going to come through, hit the wall, put the feet on, get stable. Then I'm going to bring one off. And can I then just tap my left leg here just against the wall, feeling like can I progressively find a balance and gripping the floor with my fingertips like in the frog stand. I'm pushing myself, and I'll use the wall if I need it, but the corrections are coming from my hands, shoulders, core to try and hold that balance. There's some important cues within that, but the most important thing is just time on task. You've got to rack up reps on that, and you will get better at it, but you've got to stay in the game for longer. So have a little play around with that one, and then see if you can build up some time on the tension. So a couple of people are saying they're good in that position, but in free space and lose balance after a few seconds. Your wall is the wall is your friend. So if you're finding you think you've moved into free space, and then you want to come back, or you're struggling to kind of get the time and attention that you need to come back to the wall, rack up more time against the wall. You got to lay some bigger or better foundations, which are going to allow you to get some better holds in free space. So your practice might look like a few kick-ups in free space, do the good reps that you can do, and then when it starts to feel like it's falling apart, the rest of that handstand session is done against the wall, because what you need is more time on task to just rack it up. So I hope that helps answer that little question a little bit. I'll show you a couple of things now that we can do to get into some some free space, or into free space. There's two techniques that we use that can make things a little bit more straightforward. The first issue that most people have when they do a handstand is they do one like they did when they're back in the playground. So they would kind of come into a shape. They're going to stand up, they're going to throw their hands up like this. All of a sudden, I'm going to throw everything into the floor, and then I'm going to go up, and I'm going to try and hold it. There's so much going on in that position neurally that it's super difficult to try and stabilize all of it in one go. So a couple of ways in where we can reduce the number of variables, give the brain less to focus on, is using a tuck up for one, and then for the second one is using a pendulum. I'll show you the pendulum first because people probably find it a little bit easier, even though the length of the lever is a little bit longer. So again, I'm just going to nudge you up. So it's time I'm going to put hands on the floor. I'm going to take the same split stance that I did previously. When I come up, I'll be the desk. When I come up, I'm going to leave this leg, my drive leg, behind. So I'm going to just let that one go. And what that's doing is leaving a little bit of counterbalance on the upward side, or the downside, sorry, so it's not sending all of the weight over the top. Can you get to a point where you can kick up, balance, holding a split? If you can find that position, then you can bring the feet together. And that's going to help you then to find that stable shape. So again, I'm trying to shake it through. Again, the same thing we talked about, letting the head and shoulders open up. Can I find the shape here, get my balance, and then can I bring some feet together? Even if I stay in this split shape, that's fine, because what I'm doing is still racking up neural time on task of balancing in that position. So have a play around with that one now, guys. Go through that little that pendulum movement. See if you can feel a little bit of a balance point and just adjust it. It's all in the sensitivity of the kick. If you're kicking super hard and you're going all the way over the top, wind it back a little bit. If you keep ending up with your foot on the floor, then you need to kick a little bit harder. And the trick is to try and get that top leg, the one that's leading up in front of you, as vertical as you can. Stack the weight up over your base of support, get the control, and then introduce that final variable of bringing the legs together. So I'll show you again. Set position from here. Then we go split stance, drive up, pushing down hard with the shoulders. And even if I just pop in through these, it's still a useful little drill to be able to start to feel the balance point for when I want to bring both together. So that's one of them, a little pendulum drill to have a play around with. And then the other one, and then I'll give you this one, you guys can keep playing if you want to and ask any questions that you might have. The other one is going to be this little tuck up position. So it's like the little side hop that we did before, but rather than going with hands to the side, we're going to start to bring the hands, we're going to pop forwards this time. So hands in a position in front, I'm going to use a little bunny hop, have to allow that head and shoulders to rotate, but can I start to get into a shape and find that balance point? Free space, it can be quite difficult, but this tuck position means the only thing that I'm really focusing on to hold the balance is fingers and shoulders. I've got a short lever position, so I haven't got feet waving around all over the place. And when you're starting to handstand and find your balance point, if you're not that strong, it doesn't take a lot to throw you off balance. So having your big old set of legs waving around in the air is not going to be super helpful. Shorten the lever down, build that control, and then once you've found that tuck stability position, all you've then got to do is straighten your legs. And as long as you know where up is, vertical, you're going to probably find yourself pretty home and dry, all right? If that tuck up is feeling a bit difficult in free space, you can do the same thing against the wall, exactly the same principle. Just be aware with this one, you have to rotate further because you're not going to get that arch in the back that you get when you do it full straight body position because the hips have got to go a little bit closer. So I'll show you what I mean. So rather than going split stance, I'm going to come tuck. I'm going to keep the feet in. I'm just going to pop myself up. And I can use my feet to find the wall. I can push myself off the wall with my toes and then kind of start to learn some balanced position in this shape without the feet on. Same principles as before, just reducing the number of variables that I've got by keeping that lever nice and short. So there are some little tips around learning some handstand balance. Half an hour. Simple, right? Just handstand balance in half an hour. So just to recap, we did a nice little warm-up. We've done a little bit of we've done a little bit of frog stands to get our wrist stabilization close to the ground sorted. We've done a little bit of side hops, starting to get us thinking about getting our hips up over in that arc of rotation, getting the components or segments of the body stacked up, which is going to make our hand balancing super efficient. We then took it up against the wall. So we've done a kick-up position. We've got a nice, long, straight alignment shape, pushing up nice and strong. And we've locked in and we found a good, strong, stable, efficient shape there. We then reduce the base of support. Take one leg off, kind of hold and control that balance position. Take two legs off, kind of hold and control that balance position. And then ultimately kind of get to a point where I kick and don't hit the wall. If I can do that, I've earned the right to progress to free space. Moving to free space, start to play around with pendulum position. Decrease the number of variables that you're asking your central nervous system to control at any one time. And then you start to then build and bring it through. Another really useful tip on all of this is to film yourself. Where you think you are and where you think vertical is probably not straight. It's not right to start off with. You need to do some wiring in terms of where you are in space. You're like flipping nailed it, dead straight. Can't imagine why I fell over. Have a look at a video, and what you're probably going to find is just some legs are way out from where you thought they were. The benefit of that being you can then start to re-understand where you were. So you need to go either further, you need to come back a little bit, but you're getting some external feedback based on how you're performing. So there's a little sort of tip that we use all the time with that one. And the last little thing, it's not the last thing, I said it already, time on task. You have to put the time in if you're going to learn to handstand balance. It's not a short process. You can build strength quickly, but this is not going to be a sort of a 2-week process for most people. It's a big matter of just rocking up short, consistent practices and doing them on a regular basis. There are lots of handstand drills you can use. These are ones of some of the key ones which we've spoken about. We've explained a little bit about the sort of the skill acquisition process that we use. But there are lots you can do. But what I would suggest is you streamline them down into those that actually work and just do those consistently. There is benefit of range, doing lots of different things and bringing it together neurologically. But that needs to be supplementary to the practice. The main core pillar of your practice needs to be stable, and then you can add sort of some extra peripheral stuff to it for some fun, a bit of a break, and keep those things sort of like just keep the consistent pillars. If you're interested, guys, we have got our new handstand guide coming out on Friday. I've still got to finish it, but I've put like everything into this one. It's an educational piece for your brain in terms of learning how to handstand, but also from a point of understanding training, the skill acquisition process. So have a look for that on Friday. We've got a launch offer coming with it, plus a little bit of a nice something to try and help and shine some light into the COVID situation at the moment, and that we're giving 10% of all of the sales from our online platform to two local charities in Nottingham. One of them is NHS, and one of them is supporting people who are affected by the coronavirus in the community. So if you want to check that out, it's coming out on Friday. We would love you guys to come and see it. As I said, there's loads of stuff in there that's going to show exactly what you need to do. It's streamlined and it's super kind of like on it in terms of evidence-based. This is how the body and the brain is going to learn to do a skill. So that is my end of my key messages, guys. I hope you've enjoyed that. I'm just going to jump in and just see if we've got a little bit of some questions. So there's quite a few on Instagram I have to scroll through. On YouTube, so Daniel Griffiths, good against the wall, get off into freestanding. I find it hard to get the position. Any tips? Hopefully those like using the wall and moving to freestanding will help. You need to go back to the wall if you're struggling in freestanding space. Put some more time in. Glad you guys have enjoyed it. Just got a wall kick up. Nice work, Dan. Love it. Awesome. So you guys are, licensed people. See people jumping on with an impatient view. Everyone's impatient with a handstand. We all want it straight away. The value is, and Jacko talks about this a lot, you don't want it quick. You think you want it quick, but you actually don't want it quick. You want it to take time, because my handstand is worth so much more to me because of how hard it was to learn. And for those of you who don't know, that I came off the back of 2 shoulder reconstructions multiple dislocations, ex-rugby player. I'm not a gymnast. I've never been a gymnast. And my handstand means a lot to me for a number of different reasons, but one of those is because I had to flip and work my arse off for it. And that's a massive positive. So put the time in and stick with it. My gym rings, for someone who's asking, you guys on Instagram can see it, but I've got a little indoor pull-up bar there, which is an absolute lifesaver. So custom designed just because of the amount of space that I had. But the wall-mounted bars mean I can get a session done. Can't muscle up on it, but I've got somewhere stable to hang my rings. So for the YouTube guys, I'm going to call it a day there because it looks like questions dried up. And on Instagram, you guys can hang there for a second. And I'm going to come and help you guys out, see if there's any more questions come through on that one. Etienne, just one more question. The curve back was a big issue for a long time. The key is shoulder flexibility. Yeah, 100%. Range of movement is a cornerstone of performance. If you have range, the brain has options and the body has options. Option one is available. If you all of a sudden struggle with range, the most optimal way to try and move is now taken away. We'll have to find a compensation pattern. So if you're struggling with the back arch, it's either going to be a strength, mobility issue, probably both. You're probably weak and therefore tight, or potentially you're tight and therefore weak. So just do both. You need to get range and you need to get strong in that range. So strength and mobility, stability, strength is your key bit. Tim Broughton, any tips for stiff neck after handstand practice? Could be here. It could be that you're doing quite a lot of work and you're stressed and you spend a lot of time at a desk in high positions and all of a sudden you're just jacked up in the neck and my neck's just caning. Could be a number of different things. First thing to have a look at is tension and posture. What's your postural control like? What's the range of movement like? And are you carrying sort of additional tension in there? Spend a bit more time on mobility, see if it helps. Yeah, the kick up to tuck, that's going to be something which we've got we've got a specific tutorial which we filmed in our new handstand guide. So we've done a little bit of work on that one because lots of people struggle. But we're gonna throw that in for you guys when it comes out on Friday. You'll be able to see a couple of specific drills and video cues for that one.